Welcome to JM Unleashed. For anyone watching the playback, just skip ahead about 5 minutes. I want to wait about 5 minutes before we actually start the show, but I wanted to say hi to everybody that's already come into the chat. We've got Chad, Niels Han Dynasty, we had Art Lisa, Mind Channel, or sorry, I should say Lisa RS Art. Good to see everybody. This is mind-blowing as per the thumbnail. And so what I want to do just as part of the pre-show here is I'm just going to share a song that I put together that relates to all of this. So just to save computer resources, I'm going to turn my camera off while I share this. And then we'll get into the show right after this. Let's see if we can do this. I think we can do it. Okay, I hope you guys enjoy this. It's called Who's Pulling the Strings, and it's about the central banks. And we'll get into the show in about 3.5 minutes.
Look around you, what do you see? Numbers on screen controlling you and I. They feed us lies. Slavery. Who runs this show behind closed doors? Pulling strings tight while we hit the floor. Who's pulling your strings? Who's really in control? Who's pulling your strings? While they take your soul. Who's pulling your strings? Can't you feel the weight? Who's pulling your strings? In their game of greed, debt keeps rising while they succeed. Wake up now before we fall. Break these chains that bind us all. Who's pulling your strings? Time to break free. Strings, open your eyes, see who's pulling your strings to set you free. Who's pulling your strings? The central banks. Just say no to it's the central banks. Just say no to central banks. Rise up with me. Rise up with me.
Okay, so that was the Central Bank song that I did. Thanks everybody for coming in. We're going to start the show right away. This is something I think everybody needs to see or be aware of. If you want to see it in full quality, I linked up the actual video in the description of this. But this is really, really pertinent. If you have any questions, I'll be in chat, and we can also chat after this. It's approximately a 37-minute video. I've already watched the whole thing, so this is a second watch for me. So I should be able to answer any of your questions that you have after. Here we go.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Ask Andrew podcast. Once again, I'm joined by Andrew Slay to give us the latest updates on the financial world and how they specifically relate to gold and silver. Welcome back, Andrew. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Kellen. Thanks for having me back. Glad to be back.
So why don't we dive right in? We do have the Fed meeting today. Canadian Bank has also cut some interest rates, so I think it's the perfect day to hold the podcast.
Yeah.
So, with the Fed expected to cut rates by 25 basis points or 0.25%, how do you expect gold to react as gold spot price has been holding 3,500 USD since the 2nd of September?
Well, whether the Fed cuts or not, gold and silver are going to be going up anyway. So it just means how fast they go up. If they cut today, which I expect they will, and I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say minimum half a basis point.
Okay.
So
you're thinking that even what's projected, that it's going to be more than that even, and more than that of the Canadian Bank?
I don't know what the Canadian Bank's going to do. They'll just kind of follow suit. They're both in really horrible positions. So if they don't start doing something very quickly, the entire system is going to start crumbling. So it depends on what their timeline is for this. And that, of course, we don't know exactly. We can just guess and hypothesize. But the Fed is in a horrendous spot, and they're trying to time this on their calendar. And so whether they need a quarter point or a half point or a full point or whatever the number is to achieve that, that's what they'll use. But I don't think unless they meet every month and do quarter points, or more often than that, which I don't even know if they do. I'm looking for a half a point today, and if it is, here's the conundrum: if they go too much, the financial system doesn't. They lose face in the financial system, and more money flees from the institutions. If they go too little, the financial system may start erupting and falling down. So what do you do if you're the Fed? It's like they're in a really horrible spot.
Yeah, it sounds, the way you described it, it sounds like they're between a rock and a hard place, right?
Oh, 100%. And Canada's the same. The world is the same. It doesn't matter what country you're in. So they're going to cut whatever they do, and regardless of what they cut, it's either bad, horrendous, or terrible, and all of those will have a tremendous effect on gold and silver. Moving upward. Gold's already telling us, and has been for weeks, that the rate cut's coming already. That's why it's been steadily moving up, 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 up. So, the next few weeks, the next month is going to be super interesting in what happens with metals. Nothing would surprise me what happens with silver and gold in the weeks to come. It's going to be a very interesting position to be here and watch it.
Well, there's been very few times I've worked in this industry where it's been this volatile, right? So it's usually coinciding with world events. We did see it, at least in Canada, in the Sprott Money point of view, with the Canadian truckers. That also coincided with COVID as well. But it is kind of that world event system that drives the gold prices. And we just seem to be in a never-ending stop of world events, especially financial events.
Correct. In fact, I just saw a chart yesterday from somebody, and I'm going to try to remember who, because I'm going to have to go back and watch it and take a picture of it, and maybe I can get it to you guys to see. And silver and gold are very slow on the retail level for Canada and US. I can't comment about Europe. I'm not sure where they are in their sales volumes, but Asia and the BRICS nations are all buying like crazy. Russia, of course, buying like crazy. Various other nations in Europe, Poland has been buying a lot. But what's going on in China right now is this graph from Shanghai of the purchase of gold has gone vertical, and it's a tall line. You should see this graph, and this is what's causing gold to go up worldwide. They're buying everything they can get their hands on.
Now, are you saying that's more from you did say retail, so just to confirm, that is from a consumer standpoint, not from a central bank standpoint?
This would be from a country and central bank standpoint, yeah. Not from
Okay.
not from the population of China. I don't think that's what do not believe that's what the line represented. So
Okay. Well, it'd be hard to get any records on just the financial, well, even just any purchase trends in China too, right? So why don't we move on? And this is actually, we kind of based this around the Fed meeting today. Although the U.S. Reserve is proceeding with interest rate cuts, President Trump has emphasized his desire for the cuts to be significantly larger. If that were to come to fruition, how would the U.S. dollar specifically react?
well, that's an interesting question because that chimes in with what I said earlier about, it wouldn't surprise me if it has to be a minimum half or higher. And I didn't know Trump said that. So
it has been a running trend, at least between him and Powell. That has been the biggest of at least from my understanding, that's been the biggest disagreement between the two parties there.
Like, I know he's been calling for it for months that we need, deeper rate cuts and we need rate cuts and all that. But I just, I never really paid a lot of attention because it's just rhetoric and theater and all that stuff. And so I never really was cluing in, if you will, that, he wants deeper rate cuts. He's just been calling for rate cuts now, like as in months ago. So we'll see where I land on that page with thinking it should be higher. So, sorry, after all that, I forgot what you asked me. Pardon me.
So how would let's just say that what President Trump would is that U.S. Let's say what U.S. what the President of the U.S. Donald Trump, what he would want to come to fruition is deeper rate cuts for interest rates. How would that affect the U.S. dollar and even in turn precious metals?
Okay, so they're connected. One. The U.S. dollar with that deeper rate cut, and if they do this deeper rate cut, I think you're going to see the gates open, and they're going to be doing it like every month, whatever it is. So often they meet, you'll be seeing an accelerated race to the bottom, and then you're going to see an accelerated race to the bottom on the purchasing power of the U.S. dollar. There's a gentleman that did the math on this last week. Which I haven't had a chance to go back and rewatch the video, but he did the math on all the purchasing power of the American dollar year to date, and it has lost by his math, and he's qualified to do this. So, I mean, I don't doubt his numbers. 99.34% of the purchasing power of the American dollar. The last time I heard a number, it was like the American dollar was down to about 2 cents. Okay. So that's 98% of its purchasing power. And I haven't seen a number for a couple of years. And now all of a sudden, this is coming out at 99.34 is what the American dollar has lost. That means that the American dollar is at 0.7 of a cent. Okay, we haven't even talked about those kinds of numbers before. It's always been 2 cents, 3 cents. We've always dealt with whole numbers. Now we're into 0.1 of a cent. So this is when they do this rate cut. This is more money printing, and they're also going to do yield curve control because they're pushing down the daily interest rates, and the long-term bond rates are going up. It's a horrendous signal. So 30-year bonds, 10-year bonds, those numbers, that interest rate is going up in the opposite direction to the rate cuts. So this is really horrendous. And this is, in my opinion, they're just trying to accelerate the destruction of the American dollar so they can move on.
Well, and it's been a running trend or a running topic in our show. It's going the move from the U.S. dollar to the digital currency, right? And from at one point, it looked like Europe or the EU was going to be leading that. And within a couple updates of a couple months, we are seeing that it's potentially that the US could be, well, beating them to that punch.
Well, all the currencies that are based against, they're all having the same problem. So as fast as the U.S. is accelerating its dollar downward in value, the other countries that are based against it, like the German Deutschmark, the Japanese yen, British pound, whatnot, they're all burning just as fast. So it's just a complete race to the bottom, and who can crash the currency the fastest. And what is it that I've been talking about fairly consistently for, I don't know how long we've been doing this, in my interviews prior to that, I've talked about from day one the collapse of the currencies. so now we're at 0.7 of a cent. So, do I go on record as saying, like I've been saying this for so long and now it's getting more and more real?
Well, you can have your I told you so. The only problem is it's not exactly something you wanted to
I don't
happen.
want to be right about it. I don't want to be right about any of this, but it's like, you talk about this a long time ago and it's like it's too far from reality. And now all of a sudden with these kind of numbers, we are knocking on the door of reality now. And so it's, from my point of view, like everyone thinks I'm, crazy years and years, like 10 years ago when I started talking about this stuff with my own clients, that was pretty far-fetched back then. Now it's reality. It's crazy.
I also think it has to do with the way information is spread now. I think it's the availability of information has just changed from even 10 years ago. And then we're looking at 20, 30, 40 years ago. You can have all the information on the planet in your hand at the snap of a finger, right? So I think people have kind of woken up. They're looking at alternative news sources as well. They're not constantly looking at the same sources. So they've been able to gather different perspectives. And at this point, they're also, diversifying their portfolio to protect themselves.
Yeah, agreed. That's also why they're going after mainstream media is having less and less impact. I don't think it's anywhere near minimal by any means, because there's still the majority of people watching cable news, but they are losing their shirts on viewership. And this is also another reason why governments are acting to suppress what is allowed to be out there on the internet for news. The Canadian government's passed laws on this. The Americans are passing laws on this now as we talk about it. They're addressing this issue, so that you have to be a registered news program, be on a government list to be able to say stuff. And if it's not what the government deems to be the truth, then it's misinformation and hate and whatever, right? And they just will cancel you. So anytime the government gets to decide what the truth is, we're in deep trouble.
Yeah. Well, at that point, it's not typically news, right? We see what happens. We've seen historically and around the world, even today, what happens when the government is in full control of the news cycle. Typically, it's not news, and it's more of a controlled feed, right?
It's complete propaganda. That's all that's been going on for years now. So
speaking of Canada and shifting to the Canadian Bank, the Bank of Canada has announced a rate cut of 25 basis points. So down to 2.5% interest for the Canadian bank. How will this affect the cost of living for the average Canadian?
It's all going to drive the cost of living up. So it's very temporary. So if anyone has any variable rate debt, so credit card or variable rate mortgage or a line of credit, then you're going to have a temporary relief of your interest payments being a little bit lower, but that will be short-lived, measured probably in 6 months to a year, where money printing as a result of lowering rates eventually shows up in the system with rising prices of goods and services. So it's a temporary fix, and then just creates more of a long-term problem.
Okay, so you basically, to put it in a more
makes it easier in the months to come, easier in the year to come, harder.
Yeah, so you're holding off the inevitable with this rate cut, but it's going to happen. The failing of the dollar is going to happen regardless.
Yeah. In reality, the failure, when you say dollar, I'm assuming the Canadian dollar, you mean. So that, in my humble opinion, the dollar in Canada has already failed. And what I mean by that is we already have debt beyond measure, and we're already technically, by definition, an insolvent nation. So if we are an insolvent nation by definition, then what's our currency worth? And if our currency, because we're insolvent, is worth nothing, then technically it's already defaulted or it already has no value. It's just that it takes years for people to understand these things, to come to a realization that the dollar has no value. And so therefore, if there's no value, everyone's accepting it as payment right now, but it costs more and more to buy stuff. And that's part of the devaluation of the currency. And at some point, it will accelerate where you're going to be like wanting to pay everything you can the same day you get paid from work, because tomorrow it's more expensive. It gets to that stage eventually. And I don't know how long that's going to take, but it's just paper. At the end of the day, it's just paper. There's no true intrinsic value. We're lucky enough to be working at a company that actually has real money. Yeah, we have access to it. So,
well, it's even on the technology front specifically. I've seen and obviously the U.S. dollars we've spoken about earlier this call. It's not doing very well either. But when you see just an item, let's talk about a laptop. The price in Canada versus the price in U.S. And of course, the currency exchange, that's something we've all lived with for however long. I have never seen the disparity like this. We're looking at products that cost almost 1.6, 1.7 for the same thing. So it's, and again, this varies from industry to industry. I'm more so speaking about technology as a whole. It's borderline frightening to see where the Canadian dollar's at.
And that's, the Canadian dollar is valued more than, let's pick another country over in Europe somewhere. Like, there's other countries like Venezuela, for example, our favorite test subject. The Canadian dollar is worth, I don't even know what the math is, but it's like thousands of times more than the Venezuela, whatever they're calling it today. It used to be the Solomon Boulevard. Now they're calling it something else. So, what are those people going through when they're spending like hundreds of thousands of that currency per month to feed themselves?
Well, at this point, you got to bring a wheelbarrow just to get a loaf of bread, right?
Yeah. In fact, there was a video that circulated last week that there was somebody that went into a grocery store in Venezuela and looked at all of the items on the store. And the store was like any store you'd walk into in our country. Okay, so well-stocked, everything there. And everything was priced in grams of gold. There was no dollars. Wow. So if people don't think this is a possibility or available, it's coming. And as soon as the vendors realize it's pointless and it's a pain in the butt to try and accept currency for anything in Venezuela, which will be at some point, Canada, US, everywhere else, they'll start pricing it in grams of gold. And so like a ball of, I think it was 26 ouncer of Bailey's was 0.06 grams of gold.
I'd be interested to see on how that transaction even works on getting that small of a gold denomination. I feel like it would be easier to use silver at this point, as we've always talked about.
Well, you just do the conversion with whatever the ratio is, and that would be easy. But the person basically had this raw ounce of gold, like it showed, like this little tiny nugget. And there's a person in the store set up with instruments, a scale, the whole 9 yards. And the person who was buying stuff bought enough to satisfy the use of whatever that weight of that gram of gold was. If it was like 2 or 3 grams, he was buying 2 or 3 grams worth of groceries.
Wow. So it is. And this is happening today. This isn't historically. This is
internet. The video last week. It was live, not live, but it was just made last week. So, I mean, I've known that stuff has been going on as far as, buying silver, using silver as grocery money in Venezuela for a decade. I've seen videos where they're pricing bags of oranges that were, like $10 million, whatever it was. And, they're writing all these zeros. Then the government said, well, let's delete 6 zeros off our numbers, off our currency, so that everyone didn't have to keep writing zeros to price goods on stuff. And somewhere along the way that got dropped, and now they're just pricing grams of gold. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that's everywhere. That just happens to be the store that this guy showed and did the video of himself going through a transaction, and then send it to the person that posted it.
So yeah, that would indicate the total failure of the currency. So we're not quite there in Canada, but we are, from your not only experience, but just education, all of it. You think
Nobody understands it's failed yet. Nobody understands it's failed. In my humble opinion, and I'm not, a macroeconomist that has a deeper understanding, but I just see it as, to me, the currency's dead. That's why I don't try and save anything in currency anymore. I haven't for years. So when everyone else starts to realize or think like I do, let's say, and like all of a sudden everybody in my neighborhood thinks the same way I do, like the currency's dead, why do we want to have any of it? That's when you're going to start seeing hyperinflation, because everybody will get paid today and buy whatever they can with it while they can, and that's hyperinflation starting. Until that begins, then it's like buy everything you can with dollars while they still have purchasing power. You're buying. What are the central banks of the world and countries are buying gold and silver, and we've talked about this before, with their currencies as much as they can before their currencies no longer buy gold and silver.
Well, even the yuan specifically. Look at China and the amount of gold that they've purchased, and look at how, well, I even remember when it was right when the most recent US-China trade war had started, and the yuan took a major hit, and people were arguing about it online everywhere, but they weren't even looking at it from this perspective. So a lot of people were arguing the exporter economy standpoint, which is a very fair train of thought when speaking about both the US and China, where China can kind of play that game because they are an exporter economy. And if they do take a hit to their dollar or currency, it's not as impactful to an importer economy. And even now, you're highlighting the fact that they've been able to kind of offload their currency to be buying boatloads, gold by the ton.
So when their currency finally goes to zero, how much did they pay for the gold?
Zero.
That's it.
Zero.
So, from a micro standpoint, when we drill that down to the clients, customers, various populations in whatever country, people should be taking their currencies and buying meaningful physical assets with it, extra food, things they need around the house. If the roof needs to be redone, don't wait till next year. Do it this year, because next year it could be double the cost.
Exactly.
You need to have a new furnace put in. You have to have whatever work done around the property. You're far better off trying to get it all done this fall than waiting until next year to do it, because you could be easily paying 30, 40, or 50% more or worse to have that same work done. So do that stuff now. Buying gold and silver, the same thing. We've had example after example of people have been waiting to buy in the metals since, a year ago.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're regretting the decision. You and I were on a joint call with a client who was debating on selling their assets, and silver had a very good run. And I'll never forget it. You even mentioned to them, just, hey, look, I know that silver's doing very well right now. Just trust me. It's going to continue doing well. And we finally hit that $40 USD threshold, which does bring me into my next question, actually.
Okay.
So With silver spot surpassing the $40 USD benchmark, as many viewed as the silver spot has passed the $40 USD benchmark. The evaluation of silver was supposed to slingshot once it had hit that threshold, as the view of many. Where do you see silver spot price by the end of 2025?
Well, it's a wild guess because there's so much in play. I'll say nothing would surprise me what happens. If we have, so a month ago, I listened to a gentleman who does stats on and covering off what the bullion banks are doing on their short contracts. And he reported that the bullion banks have reduced their short contract positions by 50% from the previous month. That's
Wow.
massive. Okay.
Wow.
So that means that they have 50% less ammunition to keep silver down.
That I had not heard that. That is some of the biggest. That is some of the biggest news I've heard in silver in 4 years, even.
Well, I would say it's in that category for sure. So it tells me that the banks are slowly trying to get out of their position, or quickly trying to get out of their position, before silver kills them. Because every time silver goes up $1, it's costing them billions of dollars. So if they don't get rid of these positions when they feel that they can no longer play this game, silver will either kill them or they're going to wind up. Sorry, I guess what I'm trying to say is, if they decide they can't manipulate this any longer, they better get out before silver winds up running them over. And so that's a super sign that they're deciding to give up the ghost on this before it winds up destroying them. It'll be interesting to see what happens in another month if they're down another 50%, which would be like a 75% overall decrease, and so on and so forth. And so the air is getting much thinner for resistance for where we are in silver. And it's getting to be a very exciting time. So if this continues to move in the way it is, you could wake up tomorrow and you could have obscene levels of silver pricing, whenever that starts. And we don't know that exactly, but to me, when this shenanigans is finally over, it would not surprise me, if we wake up whatever day and silver's up $200. Like that
Wow.
could easily happen. In fact,
Well,
and
it's one of the biggest indicators from a investing standpoint that silver has one of the best runways it's ever had. Or at least since I've been doing this, of course, but it has one of the best runways I've ever seen for it.
it's a 60-year cup and handle formation for silver, which is probably the longest there ever has been. I'm not a statistician. I don't study the charts all that much. But this is what I'm seeing from people that are qualified that talk about this stuff. And so that I do know that a 60-year cup and handle is longer than anything I've ever heard of in my financial career of 34 years. So that means there's a lot of energy for a massive move on the upside. The inflation adjusted number for silver alone, just using the CPI by the government, which they don't report the real inflation rate. Silver should be $209, I think it was, US spot. Just inflation adjusted for the last, I forget where it started, maybe 84 or 2011, I forget where it was. So we have a long way to go just to get caught up to the inflation adjusted price.
So speaking to that, I do feel like I wouldn't say it's kept up with inflation, but gold has done a better job of keeping up with inflation. And in this time that gold has done a better job of doing so, we've just seen the gold to silver ratio explode. I believe we've actually spoken about it the last few podcasts, and it's just, every time I look, the gold to silver ratio seems to be getting bigger and bigger. I haven't done the math on it this morning, but it's
something that I calculate fairly routinely. In let's just say the last 3 years, silver had hit an all-time high of the ratio of 125-ish to 1, which is the highest in history. And then it slowly worked its way down. And earlier this year, it had reached 100 to 1. And then it worked its way down to 90 to 1. And it got down to a low of around 84, 85. I did it the other day for a client and it was 88. So we're somewhere in that 85 to 90 range right now. I would say on a downward trend. And I believe that's going to continue to be a downward trend because where we are now in the cycles, gold's been leading the way for, let's say this year, last year, whatever, last 3 years, 4 years. Silver always seems to catch up, but it does so in weeks. So last year we had gold put in a really good, handsome return, but it did it over 4 or 5 months. And then silver did it in 3 weeks.
So do you see, obviously the historic is 12 to 1 for the gold to silver ratio. Do you see that ever coming back to form, or it's just kind of going to be more, it's going to tighten up, of course, but it's not going to have that 12 to 1 ratio that it had initially?
So historically, when the two banks were fighting this out, the gold banks and silver banks, going back 150 years, and the valuation difference, they pegged it at 15, maybe it was 13 or 15 to 1. And for the sake of, we're not going to give it equal weighting because you have to carry more and all that kind of stuff. So they did that pegging back then. In the last 100 years, we've had the ratio drop in these Great Depressionary times down to 15, 15.5, 16 to 1 for silver to gold. And we'll do that again.
Okay. So you see it reaching its historic standpoints?
I do. In fact, I think it will go lower, but that's nothing more than speculation on my part. So,
of course.
And the only reason I think it's going to go lower is that the commercial demand, everything is using silver now like it never did 100 years ago. And then it's always the people's money, and people are going to be, still accumulating it for use and transactions and whatnot. So, and you have the shortage of it, now starting to come to be apparent. So, I just don't see how, if you have a worldwide supply of silver to people in the world is 1 ounce for everybody, and gold is 2.5, give or take, to everybody, just based on supply and demand, that's silver should be higher in value.
It made no sense. Even within the last year, I'll never forget reading, I believe it was the 2024 Sprott Silver report. It was the 2023 or the 2024. I can't remember. It was last year's. I can't remember the date that they had put it in, if it was from the prior year or the projection for the year. But all the writing on the wall was for silver to skyrocket. We're constantly getting into higher uses of it. We're running into just producing it less. Year over year, we're producing it less. And we've even seen how in the industrial uses of it has just skyrocketed. Whereas it used to be very minuscule. And now every time that they make a warhead, every time they make a new EV, every time a solar panel is produced, or anything just electricity-wise, so your phones as well, silver is integral in that. And for its spot price not to be reflected in that was curious, to say the least, because it's not like you can remake the silver that gets used in a warhead.
Yeah. Two things to go along with your points is I ask routinely, what happens when we have a recession and then all of a sudden we're going to have the demand for silver is going to go, off the cliff, even if it's, for a short term, that should cause a drop in price. I said, fair question, but 50% of all the silver that's produced is produced as a byproduct from these other mines that are, from the economy, like copper, lead, zinc, whatever. And so if those mines now cut back production because of the recession, that means there's less silver for all these critical systems that are needed for. So if there's less silver, even if there's less of a commercial demand, you have 50% less production going on. I don't see it as a factor that will be relevant to, we go into a worldwide recession, depression, the countries are still going to be spending money on so-called green energy. They're still going to be making solar panels. They're still going to be doing, the Western countries are trying to rearm and rebuild their armies with high-tech weaponry up the yazoo. That all requires a mountain of silver. Space age stuff is going on all over the place. That all requires a mountain of silver. So all the things that aren't really discussed that need silver is growing in demand. And if we have less houses being built, or so there's not as much copper required, or all that kind of stuff, that just means there's less silver being produced. And I don't think it's going to have an effect on the price at all. I think it's going to make the price go up.
So silver's just a win-win position, basically.
Yeah, it is. So that's one debate that I get, asked quite often. So hopefully that's going to answer somebody's, a bunch of viewers' questions when it comes to, we're going to be in a recession. How's that not going to affect it? I had another point, but it's escaped me at the moment with regards to something you were chatting about. But hopefully, it'll come back to me in a moment. If not, we'll leave it to another time.
We may have to leave that for another podcast because we are actually out of time here, Andrew. I very much appreciate your time. I'm sure our viewers do as well, both your time and knowledge. How can each one of our viewers reach you?
So thanks, Kellen. So anyone that wishes to speak to me, it's the toll-free numbers on our website, 1-888-861-0775. My extension I put on behind my name here, 230. And you can email me at deathofthedollar@sprottmoney.com. And that's deathofthedollar@sprottmoney.com. And until next time, I think we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about in another 3 weeks, Kellen.
It seems like there's more and more to talk about every time. At this point, we're just coinciding with Fed meetings. So it's it's no issue on my end. But thank you once again, and we'll reconnect.
Okay, guys. So I pinned the link to that video at the top of the chat there. I just wanted to show this one other video that was referenced, and in order to do that, I want to put it on as full a screen as I can. There we go. And this was referencing where right now in Venezuela, they're actually stores are not accepting currencies. They're only accepting gold, and I've also heard silver. But here's that video, and then I'll open up the panel for anyone that wants to chat about this further. Here it is here.
It's already happening in Venezuela. A friend sent this from...
We'll start it over so you guys get it.
It's already happening in Venezuela. A friend sent this from El Dorado, Venezuela. He goes into a supermarket where everything is priced in grams of gold. Historically, real money will win out over government abuse. Watch how they pay in gold. And this is extremely interesting. He goes around and shows that everything is priced in grams of gold. And I'm going to skip forward. These are grams of gold. 0.06 grams of gold. Everything. And I worked out the price on this. He shows some Bailey's Irish Cream, and that price is about $44 a bottle. And then he shows how they pay with these little flecks of gold. And so these aren't in fungible increments. So they're going back to sort of like a barter system. And then at the very end, he goes to the cash register and he's paying in gold on a scale. And she weighs it and logs it all in and stamps these receipts. And they've just paid in real gold.
Okay, so there you go. We'll do a face reveal and see how many people actually stick around. I usually lose subscribers every time I do a face reveal, so I don't do it all that often. But it is good to see everybody, and we've got a generic player in the house here as well. So I'm going to open up the panel here for anyone that wants to discuss this. I'm actually due for a coffee refill as well, but let's do that first. We'll do that first. There it is. So anyone that wants to join the panel and discuss this, or anyone that has any questions, I can try to address it in the chat as well. North Star Stacker says, and another is EV can't really replace gas vehicles. The world is starting to realize that. And in the cold, EVs are useless. Yeah, a couple of my customers actually have Teslas. The one guy actually just bought a brand new Chevy or GMC fully electric pickup truck. And to be honest, all of them are pretty happy with them. Believe it or not. I'm more of a believer in the hybrids. But still, your point is well taken there, North Star. Okay, so we've got someone else in the back here. Let's see if we can add. We'll add Neil in here. And I think Neil's got the face of the new currency there as he promised. Welcome up, Neil.
Comment allez-vous, mon ami?
Ah, tu parles français.
Yeah, you just got all of my French in one sentence, bro.
Attaboy. I just want to do a quick audio.
No. I know Frère Jacques, and that's it.
Do you know what dormez-vous means?
No, I didn't even know that part of Frère Jacques, but thank you for that.
That's the next part, and it means are you sleeping? Dorme, which is kind of like a derivative of dormant.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we're getting a vernacular breakdown of the verbiage of the French language. I like it.
Let's see if we can get a bigger shot at that currency. So that actually looks.
Yeah, there's a 5, a 10, a 20, and a 50 and 100. I saw on X a picture of all of them, but I've had that picture for about 3.5 years when I knew that they were first coming up with a new dollar. I was able to capture that image of the $1 bill. I didn't get the 5, 10, 20, 50, or $100 bill, but they have them out already, or ready to go, shall I say.
Very cool. Yeah, sorry, I'm not wearing headphones, so there may be a little bit of feedback. Oh, Barb speaks a little bit of French. Here, let's put this, we'll put this chat back in there. So I'm not going to keep this going a whole lot longer. If there was a bunch of people up here that had a conversation going, then that'd be cool because I could step away and grab a coffee refill. Zaphael says bonjour, and Barb says oui, oui.
Well, I could talk for a little bit. You go ahead, take off. I'm sure everyone here would love to hear my crap. You won't lose that many subscribers, I swear.
Okay. Well, you know me, Neil. I trust you. Let me just see if we can.
I like to think I'm not a jerk, but some people just cop attitudes with me for some reason, and I don't put up with it, so I fire back, obviously.
That's all right. I think you're very opinionated and passionate, and so other people that are opinionated and passionate, but their views differ. There's likely, you could expect that there might be a little bit of a clash there. It doesn't surprise me. I just want to see if this comes in okay here. I'm going to switch a couple things. That says pre-show. That's no good. But I still kind of like it because it kind of goes along with the thumbnail I had for this.
You need to have a couple silver coin rounds made up like that for yourself.
Yeah, that sort of thing's expensive. It's expensive. Okay, so I'm going to go grab a coffee refill.
Right on. I'll keep them occupied. I'll get them fighting. I'll bring in 79.
Yeah.
She'll get it going. She'll get the chat going. I'm sure Nick will really look forward to hearing from her.
I actually should have pinned that link, but
if people like, share, and subscribe, she might have already been here.
Oh, North Star asks, is that polymer? That banknote, like the same as the Canadian bills?
I have never touched one. I have only seen the pictures of them, and the only picture I was able to copy and put into my files was the one, because at the time that I did my research, I did not see the more recent pictures. It shows the 1, the 5, the 10, the 20, 50, and the 100 all together, and they're actually different colors. The one's got that little aqua color to it. Some of them are a little red, some of them a little green.
I'll be right back. I'll be right
Yeah,
back.
go ahead. But I don't know what it's made of. I've tried to enhance it because I'm real interested in those right beside the backwards one underneath at the bottom of Washington's bust on the what is actually on the, as you're seeing it, I guess it'd be the right bottom corner. It's got some round things, and I'm sure they're like satanic symbols or something like that, or something weird. But you can always count on stuff like that in our money anyhow. It's been like that forever. I guess people trying to pass signals down through different types of symbolisms in our money or something. I don't know. There's like a power issue or something. If your symbol gets spread around more than others, or I don't know. I don't know why they put those symbols on there. It's just freaking money. Well, we'll know in the next couple of years because the dollar is collapsing, and I don't understand why people don't remember this. About 2-3 years ago, all the YouTube channels, the big boys, Lynette Zangs, Andy Schekmans, and all these big guys were talking about, well, they're either going to crash the economy or they're going to crash the dollar. Okay, that's still a fact. They've chosen to crash the dollar. Cool. We're going to keep the economy. They're going to crash the dollar. We're going to go through a little issue, get a new dollar. At the same time they were talking about, all these bigwigs were talking about that happening 3 years ago is when I got this picture of the new dollar. I thought it was a big deal. I knew I got it early because I always get shit early. You know? It'll probably, within 2 years, you'll be having a dollar bill like that in your pocket. It's not going to be a CDBC. They're trying that in China right now, and their economy is collapsing. Actually, the most recent thing I heard is certain cities in China are actively revolting against the CCP. But that's hearsay. I cannot prove it. Then again, anything coming out of China can't be proven because they don't really let us in there to prove it. But I have seen pictures of from space down at the Three Rivers Gorge Dam. It has moved. And it's newer than Hoover Dam. And the Hoover Dam's not moved. So apparently they didn't build it right. And it's going to have a catastrophic failure in the next big earthquake, whenever that is. What's up, Snooks? The generic player 2018, Pat Evans, Barbara Crone. I think I got everyone JM that came in since JM left me in charge of the show to ruin it and drive it into the ground. Holler if I missed you. But I locked JM in the basement for a while. He's looking for a spare key so he can get out because I wanted to hijack his show and maybe get him a strike or two. Because everyone deserves a strike or two. Builds character. I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that to JM. I like him too much. But no one else is chatting. You're just saying hi to each other. And I got to keep this thing going because he's getting himself a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I got it.
Tea.
Hey, Snooks.
Should be drinking tea as a good Canadian English person. But oh, there he is. Hold on. I'll quit talking about him. What's up, JM?
Have you ever had this experience where you're in a little bit of a rush and you're filling up your cup with coffee or tea, and you fill it like almost right to the brim, and you're like, "Dang, I overfilled it."
What's up, Barbara? I took over your show to make sure that wouldn't happen. So that just tells me you were concerned that I was going to drive your show into the ground. You didn't take your time to make a proper cup and enjoy it.
I was back pretty quick, wasn't I?
Yes, you were. I can tell you're concerned. I wasn't talking too much crap about you.
Okay. So I wanted to thank you, Neil, for coming up here and holding down the fort while I was gone. And every once in a while, I like to play a little game here. And it's not the words game. This game is, let's see which moderator can drop a link the fastest. So let's see who can drop Neil's link in the chat here. He's a good guy. Like I said earlier, he's very opinionated and passionate about his opinions, but I have witnessed him actually change his opinion when brought the right evidence.
That's all it takes, man.
And I don't agree. I don't agree with Neil on probably at least 10% of stuff I've heard him say, but I agree with about 90%. And he's been a big support to my channel as well, and obviously a massive supporter and what's the word? Ambassador to keeping America great. So I didn't see anyone drop his link yet.
Don't worry about it.
It's a fun game though. I like to switch it up. For anyone that's just getting here, we did cover extensive information on why the dollar is already dead. And
Well, you know, that's something that simple first grade math should explain to people that I don't understand. At a 2% inflation, you have a dollar bill that was created for approximately 50 years. That makes 100% inflation, which means the 100% of that money, according to the definition of inflation, is gone. So we're on the 53rd year. So 106% of the fiat dollar is gone. So why is everyone not concerned about it going away faster? Because the faster it goes away, the quicker we can get back on top of things. Because right now we're spending, every dollar we spend is a negative 6 cents. Yeah. And we're writing fake books saying it's got value. Well, and everyone's believing the fake books when the reality is we have a 2% inflation. 2% over 50 years is 100%. So after 50 years, 100% of the dollar was eaten up. We're on the 53rd year. That's fact. The rest of it's just paperwork and bullshit.
Well, and even more to the point, as was cited in that video that we shared, it already had lost 99% of its value as of, 15 or 20 years ago. It had already lost 99% of its value, and since then it's dropped like another 90%. So yep. you're looking at the purchasing power is 0.001 of what it was.
And here's something for you for the future for people who don't want to believe it. I'm going to say it so that way you'll know when it happens. You'll say that fool was freaking right. When we come up with the new dollar, they're going to play the same game they played with the dollar that they came up with in 1933, which is a quasi gold standard. It was only a quasi gold standard because foreign entities could turn in the dollar from 1933 dollar to 1970 dollar. A foreign entity could turn it in for gold, but American citizens could not. That was the crappiest dollar quasi gold standard we ever had because it raped America of all of our gold, because foreign entities could take our dollar and exchange it in for the gold amount of that dollar, but the American citizens could not do that from 1933 to 1970. So everyone who thinks we're on a gold standard, you're confused. We were being stolen from, and you thought it was a gold standard from 1933 to 1970. Then we came up with this bull crap fiat system. I mean, we have been getting screwed since 1933, actually long before that. But as far as financially, 1933, the hammer hit the nail on the last part of it, closing the coffin up on the financial freedom of Americans. And we are going to experience financial freedom once again. And you're going to find probably within 5 years that a man will be able to go to work and support his wife, who can stay at home and homeschool the kids, and they still have a nice house and cars. And it'll be that way for about 20 years until we fall into the exact same repeat scenario of what we just went through. And that's what I say is going to happen.
So we just got a question from Brian Rules. Hey, welcome in, Brian. Do you think they won't back you up? You will own nothing and be happy. Well, that's a famous Klaus Schwab line.
I think Charles Schwab has already eaten his cake by so many other billionaires that wanted to turn tide on him. Because what you got to understand of these elites, there's always two factions. It's the same thing with the Jews. There's two factions, and this is factual. You can go back to World War II historical documents. and research it. It'll take you some time and some brain matter to do it, but you can do it and find out for yourself, or you can believe me. There's two sections of Jews. One of them was working with the Nazis. And if you don't believe me, look at the Soros family. Find out how they got their wealth, and you'll find out they were working hand and fist with the Nazis to destroy the other half of the Jew system, the Jew people that they didn't like and didn't agree with. So they worked with the Nazis to get rid of them and steal all their wealth. That's how the Soros people got their money, the Jew Soros family. That's a fact. So just like you probably didn't know that Jews actually were helping the Nazis kill the other section of Jews because they have internal fighting going on. It's like that in everything. And if you understand that, you can better position yourself. But it's a harsh reality to understand these things. Never is it going to be 100% in your favor. No one is 100% behind you. There's always going to be someone looking to destroy that person who's helping you. Whether it's a country or a company, there's always going to be another side of that coin. And you've always got to be aware of that. But knowing that there's still a governmental plan for the experiment of the expansionist nation known as America. We just gained several million acres of property for the continent of, or for the country of America that no one talks about. It's like 3 times the size of Texas we added to America's land mass because we're an expansionist country. If you understand that, you can understand the economics of what's going on as well, and not just blindside yourself and put blinders on and only look at economics, not understanding that America is a social experiment and we are an expansionist nation. We have to expand, and we are. We're now going to consume in the next 10 or 20 years most of Canada and Greenland. That's going to happen because that's the country we were created to be, an experiment, and part of that experiment is being an expansionist nation. If you understand those basics, you get a better understanding of how the government works, and you'll find out that the government puts out forecasts for what they're going to do 20 years in advance. And if you invest in them, in 20 years, you'll be a multimillionaire. But no one wants to wait 20 years. No one wants to research their government and listen to what they're going to tell you they're doing. The reason why I was able to tell William about that Rolls-Royce division of stock that's gone up 1,300% over 3 years, because I looked at what the country of England said their goals were, and then I told William about it. And I said, I think Rolls-Royce is going to get a contract with the English government for a micro-nuclear reactor to put on the moon. And he bought into stock, and damn sure enough, the country of England signed a contract with that Rolls-Royce division. That stock's up 1,300% 3 years. So countries tell you what they're going to do. If you just chill the hell out and don't want to make $1 billion in 2 minutes, you'll be rich by the time your kid's out of college. If he's a 1-year-old right now, if you just follow what the government tells you they're going to do, it'll be within 5 to 10 years. I know this guy's a multimillionaire, lives in Concord. When I moved out there in 96, he was buying up what are those storage units? Those like big warehouse storage units. He was buying those up because he showed me. He goes, yeah, the government said by 2010 that'd be a big business, and that everyone was using it because they anticipated people losing their houses in the 2008 debacle. So the government put out an advance warning 15 years in advance that there was going to be a financial deficit coming by 2010, and you should invest in those little container storage units. This guy bought several of them, made multi-millions of dollars because he listened to what the government said. Does anyone know that the government tells you what they're going to do? If you do, you can be rich.
Yeah, they foreshadow it quite a bit. I wanted to say hi to 8-inch Destroyer, Pat Evans. I don't think I said hi to Miss Luck. Good to see you. You know, you got to get back to your movie. But welcome in anyone that I missed. We're going to keep this going maybe another 7 or 8 minutes. If anyone wants to join the panel, I'm pretty sure I pinned the link. Did I not? Yep. It'll say studio.restream right at the top. If anyone wants to join, feel free and weigh in on this. Barb says, so what is the investment of the year now?
Energy stocks. America has just changed from it taking 20 years to get a nuclear reactor going to taking 6 months, increasing the time span by 4,000%. What's that tell you?
Yeah, I do like platinum too. It looks to me like it's just starting, the price is just starting to wake up.
Well, there is a gentleman that's already invested $15 million on a space apparatus that he's going to launch later this year. And the beginning, I think the first or second quarter of next year, he'll be pulling in $60 million of platinum from a space rock that he's going to be mining. So he's going to make $45 million every month off of a $15 million one-time investment. I think that stock's going to take off, because anytime you invest $15 million and you can consecutively make $45 million a month off of it, that's like $500 million a year off of a $15 million investment. I think that stock's going to take off like wildfire.
Well, and anytime anyone is talking about investments, this is not investment advice, but
Nope.
Like this.
I give good advice, not investment advice.
But what I'm going to say now is, and that is that you should always be diversified. You should never go all in on any one thing, even though I understand the argument, right? Where, especially for people that have inside information, they'll say, well, but if I know for sure something's going to happen, I should go all in it. Should I not? And
No.
even in that case, I would say no.
Never.
No. The more assets and wealth that you have to protect, the more diversified you should be. Take a look at how pension fund managers manage their portfolios. You won't see you focused in on anything less, than at least 100 securities at any given time. So
Here's another, here's another nugget. President Trump is going to come out within the next couple months and state that he's rescheduling cannabis from a stage class 1 to a class 3. Most of your medical and industrial use stock use cases of marijuana are going to skyrocket, because more people in the world, or in America, let's say, smoke pot than they are into crypto, into precious metals, or into stocks. And the use case or the market cap of those stocks, as soon as that legal maneuver is made, are going to skyrocket higher than most anything out there that you'll see, in my opinion. And since November 6, 2024, the Justice Department and the Department, what was it? The FBI? No, it was the Justice Department and the Department DEA have been working on the language to reclassify marijuana from class 1 to class 3. So it is coming, because Trump made a campaign promise in his first term to do it, and he didn't do it. And he's looking to complete all of his campaign promises, and has been pushing Kash Patel and Bondi to have it completed to where he can go on national TV and say he's decriminalizing it from class 1 to class 3. So that right there is a tell that all those, the medical marijuana, industrial marijuana stocks, most likely will have one hell of a bump. But that's just good advice from what the president and what your government is actually doing right now. If you research it, you can find out they are literally right now working to reclassify marijuana from class 1 to class 3, and going through all the legal documents to make it so. It's already gone to Congress. It's almost to the point where all the president has to do is get on stage and say something. And when he does that, those stocks probably jump 1,000% overnight.
yeah, see, and that's one thing where I struggle to see that, and the reason is because the pot stocks have been around here in Canada for at least 15 or 20 years, and they had a huge run, preemptive run, as it was becoming decriminalized in Canada, and all this sort of thing was coming up, and then they just tanked.
That's because he was unable to legalize it like he said he was going to in his first term, because of the opposition to his being president hit him from all angles, and he was unable to do anything about it because there was more important things on his palate at that point in time. But now, like I said, Google it right now. Anyone out there, Google, is the Justice Department working to reclassify marijuana from class 1 to class 3? Google it. Google will tell you yes. So, and
then there's also
the research,
the discrepancy of whether it should just be decriminalized.
That's a whole nother subject.
That's right. And we're not going to get into that, but
no, that's not going to happen. They're going to reclassify it first.
The words and the legal, like words in legal jargon have different definition than they do in casual street conversation. And so a lot of things that you can see in the news, they'll say something in legal jargon and everybody completely, or a lot of people completely misinterpret it because they don't understand the legal definition of the words that are being used. So Okay, any final thoughts there, Neil?
Be kind, helpful, and grateful, because it all comes back to you.
That sounds pretty good. I like that. My final thoughts are be really careful there with financial advice. I know Zaphael was saying earlier, watch out for scammers, and there are a lot of scams and scammers out there. I actually featured Summit Metals, did a great video exposing these scam sites where they're selling like gold or silver or coins at like 20% of the, or even half of the actual going rate. And when you look at the words in there, it's silver clad or silver plated or gold plated, but it's in really fine print. Hey, Anti, we got okay, so let's get rid of this design. Feel free to
I got one more thing to say. I have never sold anything, and I've had my channel for 3 years. The only thing I sell, and it's not for sale, it's given for free, and that's the information that I researched with my time, energy, and effort. I don't sell things. I just try to inform people so they can make better decisions for themselves. And I say buy silver, platinum, and crystallized osmium, because those are the only things that are undervalued underneath their all-time highs. Gold is not. It's way over its all-time high. So
go ahead.
I don't sell, I don't shill, I don't sell, and I don't look to push people into buying stuff. I give information freely that I have learned. That's all I do.
Fair enough. So we did get Neil's Han Dynasty's link dropped in the chat earlier. If we could have any moderator drop Neil's link in again. And then if someone else could drop in Salivate Metals link, he's so close to 100,000 subscribers. And I would say at least 50% of my knowledge that I've got in the precious metals markets has come directly from Salivate Metal and his videos and live streams. And so when Salivate Metals and Neil's links get dropped in there, if everyone could make sure you're subscribed, that'd be great. I'll stick around for a couple of minutes after Neil, but here's a video that I put together because I do shill a little bit and I do like promoting and I pump stuff up that I believe in, but I still try to have a balanced approach. And for anyone that really wants a balanced approach, check out Salivate Metal. He's probably been one of the most conservative of the precious metals channels out there, who loves precious metals, but still you've never seen him push in exorbitant numbers and ideas. So Neil, I just need you to mute up if you don't mind while I play this, and I hope everybody has a good evening. Please subscribe to Neil and to Salivate Metal, and I hope to see you guys soon. Thanks everybody.
Gather around, metalheads unite. Gold, silver, and platinum win the fight. True power's where we turn. Live streaming at 6 p.m. Eastern. Every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday night. Join us and feel the might. Selling faith, metal burning bright. Eastern time, the call we hear. 6 p.m. Yes, indeed. Precious metals, a true delight. Gleaming treasures, shining bright. Madness reigns when scammers call. And Salivate Metals always have colors fall. Join us, feel the might. Salivate Metal burning bright. Eastern time, the call we heed. 6 p.m. Yes, indeed. Precious metals, true delight. Gleaming treasures, shining bright. Madness reigns when scammers
Look the coffee, stack the medals, the super shiny, getting gold medals. The path of dream, don't be late, no need to scream. It's time to stack and celebrate. Keep your feet on the stars, keep reaching for the ground. Stacking coins and bars, enjoy the slurping sounds. Join us, feel the might, solidify metal burning bright. Eastern time, the Koei heat, 6 p.m. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Okay, so just so you know, Neil, we're still live. It's good to see everybody. Hope to see you again soon. And thanks so much for all my moderators and everyone that's pushing forth the positive energy. Stick around, Neil. I'm just going to end the stream.